5 years ago, a young mother vanished without leaving a trace. Shelley Mook was last seen entering her ex-husband's home in Tennessee. She then missed work and her phone went dead. There was no crime scene, but plenty of suspicions about who did it. Michelle Miller investigates for this week's 48 Hours.
Shelley is my friend. She's my best friend. For her just to be gone, to vanish, it's not like her.
When Shelley Mook went missing from the small town of Shelbyville, Tennessee, her friend Brittany Brooks suspected Shelley's ex-husband, a handsome man with a dark side named Tyler Mook.
Everybody kind of likes to date a bad boy. Everybody does at some point in time in their life.
Shelley and her ex-husband had an on-again, off-again relationship even after they divorced.
So there were a lot of secrets in that house.
A lot of secrets.
One thing that kept them together was their daughter, Lily.
Shelley would never abandon her daughter.
Let's talk about that day.
That particular day, she taught school.
Investigator Kevin Keel worked for Shelley's family for 2 years. Now he's consulting for 48 Hours.
We know Shelley arrived at Tyler's with Liliana in a car seat. We know Shelley was upset when she went into Tyler's residence.
She was never seen again. Cops did find Shelley's burnt-out car in a rural field in the next county, but that was it.
No one knows what happened to her, but I'm pretty damn sure I know who did it.
Shelley's ex-husband, Tyler Mook, quickly became a person of interest, but with no body and no obvious crime scene, there was no case. 1 year later, this mystery took a bizarre turn, an accidental call to 911 from Tyler Mook.
This is 911. Do you have an emergency? Hello?
Mook didn't realize he'd called 911, and he was recorded in a private conversation for 22 minutes.
How does this happen?
He must have had some phone similar to this iPhone. You stick it in your back pocket. If you lean against something, you're going to press the buttons.
So he butt dialed.
He butt dialed.
Oh, they seen Shelley's car going down the road that night.
Despite the call, Shelley's case went cold. Then, 3 years after her disappearance, Tyler Mook got himself in big trouble for attacking his girlfriend.
He threw me over the side of the boat. That's when he jumped in behind me, turned me upside down, and was holding me under.
He was arrested and charged with attempted murder.
Susan Zirinsky is the executive producer of 48 Hours. She has been following this case. Thanks for being here, Z.
Thank you.
So let's start with the mysterious 911 call that Tyler accidentally made. What more can you tell us about that?
You know, this is one of those things that you cannot believe. Obviously, it was in his pocket. He may have leaned back and it was on the emergency system. There are all these sort of little bits of conversation. They saw Shelley's car going down the road. But when you take it as a whole, there wasn't enough for investigators to kind of charge him. His own lawyer said, oh, it was just talking about the custody issue. So, you know, you have this unbelievably rich, tantalizing clue. Who calls 911? And the funny thing was, is Tyler Mook called the 911 and said, did you just get a call from me? And they said, yes, and we recorded it for 20 minutes, so you can imagine what was going through his head.
Wow.
But essentially, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to make another connection. No body, no evidence. They did find this burned out car. And quite frankly, it was quite frustrating to the family that here's this person of interest who then is able to move away. But when he finds himself in hot water, and I'm no pun intended, you know, and charged with attempted murder, they really hope, the Shelley's family hopes that this will be the clue, the driving force that opens up her case again.
We teased a little bit about that arrest for attempted murder of his girlfriend. What happened? We see the water. Will you tell
literally, and she said he was the nicest guy, so wonderful, so polite. But suddenly he kind of turns, and she was late, and they were on a boat with his brother and his brother's girlfriend, and she does something to make him angry. And he literally, she thought he was going too fast. He throws her overboard, jumps in afterwards, and's holding her down. She was going to drown. She's screaming, screaming. Another boat comes by with these two young guys. They pull her up. They take her to the dock. There happens to be a cop there, and when the Tyler Mook group comes back, they arrest him. And so this case, I don't want to give everything away.
Yeah.
I want people to watch, but he is charged with attempted murder. So how big a deal will this be in helping solve Shelley Mook? You know, we're always hoping with a case like this, when there's an unresolved case, that people, and especially in the social networking world, that somebody will have heard something, feel guilty, just have some other clue that will just open up that bridge for investigators to kind of come out and say, we're going to charge him with Shelley Mook's murder.
You know, I'm always curious about this, and in all the years that you've been producing 48 Hours, I mean, most people are not involved or suspected of a crime, of murder, but then when you have one person who is suspected of murder and then a second time, how often does that happen?
Well, almost never. I mean, you know, when somebody gets away, you know, listen, he hasn't been convicted, so I can't really say gets away, but there's a lot of suspicion. And then to mess up and, you know, be charged with attempted murder, you're really pretty stupid. There's a deposition tape in the custody hearing, and he takes the fifth like more than 120 times. So this is a guy who's just kind of, you know, he's just heading on that road for disaster. And you just hope that there's some resolution for Shelley's family. And don't forget, there was a 6-year-old child when her mom disappeared. You know, she's going to go through life thinking, why did my mom leave me? She didn't say goodbye. You know, what is that? She's still with Shelley's mom and dad. She's 11 now. But that's a pretty tough order for a child. You know, you don't get over that.
I'm looking forward to watching this episode. I don't have a dog in this race, horse in this race for baseball season, so I'm going to be all over 48 Hours, and I'm hoping everybody else is as well.
My husband will be on watching the Cubs, but you know, he's a Chicago boy, and I have Wrigley Field seats, original seats, up in my office.
Oh,
so
wow, that's true. I've seen that.
That's
all right,
correct.
Susan Zirinsky, thank you so much, Z. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And let's remind you, you can watch 48 Hours, the full report, Bad Boy, Saturday night. That's at 10, 9 Central, folks, only on CBS.